Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo 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 Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So we are continuing with Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter number 13, and we will do verse number 13 today. Neyam yattat prabhakshyami yatnatvamritam ashnute anadimat parama brahma na sattanasat uchyate. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. I shall now explain the knowable, knowing which you will taste the eternal. Brahman, the spirit, beginningless and subordinate to me, lies beyond the cause and effect of this material world. Purport. The Lord has explained the field of activities and the knower of the field. He has also explained the process of knowing the knower of the field of activities. Now he begins to explain the knowable, first the soul and then the supersoul. By knowledge of the knower, both the soul and the supersoul, one can relish the nectar of life. As explained in the second chapter, the living entity is eternal. This is also confirmed here. There is no specific date at which the Jiva was born, nor can anyone trace out the history of the Jivatma's manifestation from the Supreme Lord. Therefore, it is beginningless. The Vedic literature confirms this. Na jayate mriyate va pishachit. Katha Upanishad. The knower of the body is never born and never dies, and he is full of knowledge. The Supreme Lord as a supersoul is also stated in the Vedic literature to be Pradhan Kshetrajna Patir Guneshaha, the chief knower of the body and the master of the three modes of material nature. In the Smriti, it is said, Dasa Bhuto Harer Eva Nanasya Yeva Kadachana. The living entities are eternally in the service of the Supreme Lord. This is also confirmed by Lord Chaitanya in his teachings. Therefore, the description of Brahman mentioned in this verse is in relation to the individual soul. And when the word Brahman is applied to the living entity, it is to be understood that he is Vijnana Brahma as opposed to Ananda Brahma. Ananda Brahma is the supreme Brahman personality of Godhead. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Umanitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So thank you all for joining this Bhagavad Gita class today. So as we can see, so far Krishna has explained to Arjuna. Arjuna had a lot of questions, what is knowledge, what is, kshetra, what is the kshetragna and everything. So Krishna explained to Arjuna, that this body is the field of activities and the soul, the spirit soul, which is within the heart is the knower of this. So here, now continuing in this verse number 13, Krishna is explaining to Arjuna how to taste the nectar of this life. This life is eternal. We are not this body, but we are the spirit soul. So, to understand that, with the help of knowledge, we need to understand what is soul and what is super soul, right? Soul is us, which is within the heart, and super soul is the supreme personality of Godhead, whom we also call Paramatma, who is situated in the heart. Now, in chapter 2, we learn the foundation of the Bhagavad Gita, which is I am not this body and I am the spirit soul. So, in fact, the whole chapter of 2 has almost 22 verses on the spirit soul. What are the qualities of the soul? It is eternal. No one can kill it. No one can burn it. The wind cannot wither it. And all that we learned in chapter 2. Now, as many times people ask a question, when did I come into existence? Right? When was I born? Right? Not this body, but talking about the soul, like when did I come into existence? Here, even in the purport, Srila Prabhupada very clearly explains that eternal means always existed. There's no beginning and there is no end. So, for the spirit soul, it did not come into being, that we learned in chapter 2. It does not come into being and it will not come into being. Why? Because it is eternal and is going to continue to exist forever. So, that is why Prabhupada mentions in the purport that the soul is beginningless. Beautiful verse from chapter 2, which is also listed in this purport is Na jayate mriyate va kadachit nayam bhutva bhavita va na bhuya ajo nitya shashvato yam purana na hanyate hanyamane sharire. That the soul is eternal. There is no birth for the soul, there's no death for the soul. It has always existed. So now we need to understand, now that we have understood the soul, we, the spirit soul, we are eternal, we are not going to die. It's this body that is going to die. So now we need to understand the super soul, the Paramatma, because the next few verses, Krishna is going to talk about himself, that he is situated in the heart as super soul, as Paramatma. What is he like? Right? We need to know. So for instance, my mother says, okay, you need to get married. So my question is, to whom? Right? I need knowledge. Who is that person that I have to get married to? So now we need knowledge about the super soul. And based on this verse that we recited today, it is very clear that Krishna is the knower of all the bodies, because he's situated in everyone's heart. He knows what is going on in each one's body. Now, for instance, I want to know what is going on in Charanya's mind. Can I? What's going on in your body? Can I? I cannot. I can only know my body. I can only know what's going on in my mind. But Krishna, he is a knower of all the bodies. Why? Because he is a supreme master. We've already learned in chapter number 5, where Krishna says, Bhoktaram Yagna Tapasam Sarvalokam Maheshwara Suridam Sarvabhutanam Gnatva Mam Shantim Richati. If we can somehow the other understand that Krishna is the Bhokta Ram, Bhokta means enjoyer. He is the enjoyer and he is the Maha Ishvara. He is the Ishvara of everyone, Maha Ishvara. So then we will be able to understand that he is the Supreme Lord. He is the knower of all the bodies. He is the master. He is the controller. He is the maintainer. He is the sanctioner, right? He's everything. We already learned in chapter 10 also, where Krishna says, Aham sarvasya prabhavo mataha sarvam pravartate. That everything emanates from me. And then chapter 11, what did we see? All that Krishna, all that theory that he gave to us till chapter 10, in chapter 11 was the practical demonstration that he is the Supreme Lord, because he showed the universal form in which we could see everything. So here in this verse, we can see that Krishna is the Supreme and we are subordinate to him. And as Prabhupada mentions in the purport, that the word Brahman that is mentioned in this verse is referring to the spirit soul. Now, the soul is beginningless and subordinate to the Supreme Lord, the Paramatma within the heart. Let's see what he says in verse number 14. Everywhere are his hands and legs, his eyes, heads, and faces, and he has ears everywhere. In this way, the Supersoul exists, pervading everything. So here in this verse, we learn how does Supersoul exist? How does he exist? So we come to know, he says, everywhere are his hands and legs and eyes and ears and everything, like everywhere. It's like, what? What about us? For us, we only have two eyes and they are fixed on the body, right? They are not everywhere. But whereas Krishna, they are everywhere, his hands, legs. So that reminds us again about the universal form, wherein we saw that Krishna had so many hands and so many legs, and like fire was coming out from all his mouths and everything. So we can understand that he is all pervading. He is everywhere, everything. We all are his parts. He is the whole, complete whole, and we are his parts. What does he say? Mamay vamsha jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. Amsha means part. So we are parts of that complete whole, which is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A nice analogy is given by Srila Prabhupada in the purport. He talks about the sun and the sunshine. So there is the sun, one piece, right? But the sunshine is everywhere, spread everywhere, right? So similarly, Krishna is there, one whole. He is there in his spiritual world, but he is all pervading. He is spread everywhere. He exists in his all pervading form, which includes all living entities, right from the topmost, which is Lord Brahma, down to that small little tiny ant that walks on the floor. Krishna is everywhere. He exists in each and every living entity. Now, because we are conditioned, we are in this material world, and we are conditioned to believe I am this body, right? Everything refers to this body, my eyes, my ears, my family, my country. So everything is referring to the body, whereas we need to understand that there is a difference between this material body and the spirit soul which is within the heart. There is a difference between the soul and the super soul. The Paramatma is the Supreme Lord. He is different from the soul. We should not mix together. We should not think that I am the Supreme Soul and Krishna is the soul. No, we are the soul and he is the Supreme Soul. And as per this verse, it is that his hands are everywhere. Now, the Supreme Lord is situated in the spiritual world. How can his hands be everywhere, even in this material world? Right? How is that possible? He's far, far away, and yet it is said in the Bhagavad Gita. What does Krishna tell Arjuna? That Yagna Shishta Shinashanto Muchyante Sarva Kilbishe Bhunjate Tve Agham Papam Ye Pachyanti Atma Karma. He says that my devotees first offer the food to me and then they eat. But those who cook food for personal sense gratification, they verily eat only sin. Now one may say that we are offering food, but we don't see him taking it, right? We don't see it. Why can't we see it? Because we don't have the spiritual eyes to see that, right? He says patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya prayachati. So he says that excuse me. So he says that if one offers me with love and devotion, a fruit, flower, leaf, or water, I accept it. So he accepts it. So then, how does he accept it? The thing is that because he is spiritual, like his hands and legs are everywhere. So his hands, even though they are in the spiritual world, they can reach here to accept our food. Another thing to understand is there's a beautiful verse in where Lord Brahma is singing praises of Lord Krishna. He says, Angani Yasya Saklendriya, that Krishna's senses, they are interchangeable. He can eat with his eyes. Can we eat with our eyes? We'll stay hungry if we try to eat with our eyes, right? But Krishna, being the Supreme Lord, his senses are interchangeable and he can do anything with any his sense. So that is how we must understand that even though he is far away, his hands can reach anywhere. And only the Supreme Lord can do that. Let's see verse number 15. The super soul is the original source of all senses, yet he is without senses. He is unattached, although he is the maintainer of all living beings. He transcends the modes of nature, and at the same time, he is the master of all the modes of material nature. Now, it says he is without senses. Now, how do we understand that? Right? Just now we said he has senses and he is spread everywhere. And now he's saying he doesn't have sense. He is the original source of all the senses. Without senses, what does it mean when he says he's without senses? It means he doesn't have material senses like we do, right? We are conditioned, we are in this material body, so our senses also are material, but his senses are transcendental. In the Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma says his very first prayer to Krishna is Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. That Krishna, you have a Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha, your form is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. So he has transcendental form. So obviously his senses are also transcendental. They are spiritual. They are not material. And in this verse, uh, it is said that he is a maintainer of all, yet he is unattached. What is our situation? We are attached to everything. We are attached to our iPhone, we are attached to our family, we are attached to our country, we are attached to everything material. Can any one of us say, oh, I'm attached to the Supreme Lord? No, there's so much conditioning, right? So Bhagavad Gita helps us to remove that conditioning, to remove that contamination so that we can be purified. Then it says that he is a master of the modes and yet he is above them. How can we understand that? Which means he is not affected by the three modes of material nature. What are the three modes? Goodness, passion, and ignorance. But we have to understand that we need to transcend these three modes and come to the mode of pure goodness. Now, because we have material senses, excuse me, and because of the conditioning in this material world, we somehow have forgotten that we are actually pure because we are part of the Supreme Lord. He is spiritual, we are spiritual. As our soul is spiritual, but we are relating ourselves only to this material body. And that is why the conditioning just keeps increasing. Our senses are covered up with material elements. Remember, we've already learned the 24 elements, material elements, right? This body is made of earth, water, fire, air, ether. So this body is made of 24 elements. So our senses, because they are materially contaminated right now with this material body, we are not able to really understand the spiritual position of our own selves. Our constitutional position is we are spiritual by nature and we are the servant of the Supreme Lord. But what has happened because of the conditioning? We have even forgotten to purify ourselves. Now, supposing, especially in India, I think, I don't know if right now also if that is the case, but mostly the water needs to be purified, right? When we go from Atlanta to India, do we drink tap water? No. Even those who are living in India, they purify the water, right? Purification is very, very important. So we need to somehow or the other purify our senses. And Bhagavad Gita has given us a process by which we can purify ourselves. Now, when we grow old, you know, uh, most people, they start getting cataract, right? And what does cataract mean? Yes, it blocks the vision. That means a very thin layer forms, right? So then the vision kind of gets slightly blurry. And then as the cataract progresses, then it really interferes with the vision. And then what needs to be done? Remove that thin layer. The surgery takes place, and when the layer is removed, then a person is able to see clearly, right? So same thing has happened, that because we have this layer of materialism, that we are not able to really see our real selves. And somehow the other, if we can follow the process given to us in the Bhagavad Gita, then we will be able to see things as they are. Then we will understand what is the goal of life. Right now, people are just living this life, simply living the life. Usually it used to be simple living, high thinking, but now people are simply living. Okay, tomorrow is going to be Thursday. What do I need to do? I wake up, I shower, I eat breakfast, and I do work. And, just that same regular, it's called same old, same old, same old, right? People generally, when someone calls you and says, so how's everything? We say same old, same old, same old, right? Because we just keep doing the same again and again and again. We don't stop to think, why do I have this human form of life? Why do I have philosophical intelligence which the animals don't have? Do I need to do something more than what the animals are doing, eating, sleeping, mating, defending? Am I doing something more? Do I have a goal in life? Do I know where I need to go from here? If we don't have answers to these questions, that means we are wasting this very precious human form of life. So we can understand that here in this verse, what does he say? He says, that he transcends the modes of nature, and at the same time he is the master of all the modes of material nature. He is the original source of all the senses, right? His senses are pure, but we need to purify our senses. We are his parts, right? We are the parts of the supreme lord, and we are transcendental by nature, but because of bad karma, we are here in this material world, in this material body. But now we have the opportunity, with the help of Bhagavad Gita, that we can somehow or the other improve our future. Krishna, his senses are pure. He can see. He knows our past, he knows the present, he even knows our future. Do we know our future? Yeah, we may make a plan, okay, 5 years down the road, this will be my savings, or this is what I'll do, or whatever. But no, as far as spiritually, we don't have a clue. So we need to understand that we need to come to our pure transcendental form and understand that Krishna, he's situated within the heart. He's there within the heart, and he knows everything that is happening. We may think, oh, let me go in a dark room and do something wrong and no one will see. No, Krishna can see because he is there in the heart. He is a maintainer, he's the witness, he's the guide, he's the sanctioner, he's the controller. He is everything. That is what this Bhagavad Gita is teaching us. So best thing is that we understand this Bhagavad Gita step by step and improve our this particular human form of life. Let's see what he says in verse number 16. The supreme truth exists outside and inside of all living beings, the moving and the non moving. Because he is subtle, he is beyond the power of the material senses to see or to know. Although far, far away, he is also near to all. So we can see from this verse the inconceivable potency of Krishna, right? He's inside, he's outside. He is within moving and non-moving, and he's beyond the power of material senses. He's far, far away, yet he is near. Now he's far, far away in the spiritual world, yet he's near. How? He's there in the heart as Paramatma. So how can we realize the Supreme Lord within our heart? That is the question. It's a process. It's a process of purification. Just like I was explaining, if there is a layer in front of the retina, we have cataract, that is what it's called, and we cannot see clearly. Once that layer is removed, then we can see clearly. Similarly, here we can understand that to realize the Supreme Lord within the heart, we need to purify the heart. We have to remove the unwanted things which are in the heart, like lust, anger, greed, pride, envy. All that needs to come out. This is actually a diseased condition, and best thing is to take the medication. Krishna is transcendental. He's in the spiritual world. We are in this material world, but because of these material senses, we are not able to see him clearly. So once again, Prabhupada is talking in the purport that we need to purify the senses. It has to come to a stage where a beautiful verse, Lord Brahma says, Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadeva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shyama Sundaram Achinta Gunaswarupam Govindam Adi Purusham Ta Aham Bhajami. He says that when our eyes are anointed with love, like women, they put kajal in the eyes, but that kajal, that anjana has to be of love. When our eyes are anointed with love, then we will be able to see the Supreme Lord. Then we will be able to realize him in our heart. How many times in a day we think that, oh, the Lord is in my heart? Do we think about it? No. We are very busy people. We don't have time for all that. That is something we are going to do when we become very old. Then we'll think about. No, that might be too late, right? So here it's important. There is no other way to purify the senses. Then we will be able to really see. So the mind and the senses need to be purified. So in chapter 2, we learned about the soul. I am not this body, I am the spirit soul. Then Krishna explained to Arjuna that the senses are above the sense objects. The mind is above the senses. Intelligence is above the mind, and the soul is above the intelligence. So it's important to understand that the mind is the one that needs to control the senses. But the mind cannot control the senses if the intelligence is not controlling the mind. And the intelligence will not control the mind until and unless the intelligence is fed with knowledge from the Bhagavad Gita. So this is how we must try and understand that we can see Krishna, we can understand Krishna only when we follow this process. And what is the process? Krishna says, Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantasya drida vritaha. That we must always chant the glories of the holy name. When we chant constantly, then we will be able to purify our heart. Let's do a last verse for today, number 17. Although the supersoul appears to be divided among all beings, he is never divided. He is situated as one. Although he is the maintainer of every living entity, it is to be understood that he devours and develops all. What a nice verse, right? Krishna is one. He's just one personality, but he's present in all. That doesn't mean that he gets divided, a small piece of Krishna here, a small piece there. No, he is one. He is in everyone, and yet he is not divided. Example, again, Prabhupada gives about the sun. Now, the sun is there in the sky, right? It's afternoon and it's 12 o'clock and sun is right there, and it is coming it's coming right on our head, right? The sun is in one place, but it appears to be everywhere. Now, you being in Dunwoody will see the sun on your head. Me in Sandy Springs will see the sun on my head. And say, for instance, like Leela Vasni, she is in Houston, she will see the sun on her head. Does that mean sun is everywhere? No, sun is one in one place, but it appears to be divided, right? But similarly, Krishna is one. He appears to be divided, but he is not divided at all. So we have to understand that he is a maintainer of all living entities. And what does he say? He devours and he also protects. A beautiful verse is there. Rakhe Krishna mare Krishna rakhe ke. Whomsoever Krishna wants to protect, no one can kill. And whomsoever Krishna wants to kill, no one can protect. This is what this verse is talking about. So just like even in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, the Mahabharat war, right, millions of soldiers were killed, right, so many died. No one could save those soldiers. Arjuna was discussing and lamenting and saying, "Oh no, I don't want to kill all these." Krishna said, "I've already killed them. You just become an instrument for me. It is my will to kill all these soldiers in Mahabharata." Could anyone save them? No, they all died. Everyone in Mahabharata died except the five Pandavas, right? So that was Krishna's desire. He wanted to kill all the irreligious people who were present in that battlefield. So this is what this verse is talking about, that whomsoever Krishna wants to protect, no one can kill. So we are going to stop at this verse today at verse number 17. If anyone has any questions.